Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. Today we're diving into January 29th, a date that apparently woke up one morning, chugged a triple espresso and said, yes, I will absolutely redefine world history in every conceivable category. This day has everything. Civil War prequels, automotive revolution, monarchies collapsing, nukes stopping, ravens talking, baseball players becoming gods, Oprah being Oprah, and Indiana doing Indiana things. So buckle up, preferably in a Carl Benz patent motor wagon, because technically this is the birthday of the entire traffic jam. Let's get started. Segment 1. Kansas joins the Union, the prequel to America's worst breakup. January 29, 1861, Kansas becomes the 34th state. And not just any state, the state created by America arguing so loudly about slavery that the prairie itself caught fire. Kansas was basically the pilot episode of the Civil War. Bleeding Kansas wasn't a metaphor, it was more of a Yelp review. Abolitionists moved in. Pro-slavery forces crossed the border from Missouri like it was Black Friday at the ballot box, and everyone brought guns. It was the Westworld of 1854, but with fewer robots and more mustaches. By 1861, Southern senators started leaving Washington because Lincoln got elected, which meant Congress finally passed Kansas statehood the way you pay your bills after your roommate moves out. Suddenly, and with surprising efficiency. Kansas enters free. The Senate balance shifts, and America essentially flips from let's compromise to let's fight. Kansas is so pumped about joining the Union that 2/3 of eligible men signed up to fight. 2/3. Meanwhile, today, 2/3 of eligible adults won't even sign up for email alerts from their local library. And to celebrate, Kansas eventually made January 29th Kansas Day, a holiday that says, yes, we once fought border ruffians, drought, famine, and Congress. And honestly, Congress was the hardest part. Segment 2, the Compromise of 1850, Henry Clay's Maybe This Will Work tour. January 29th, 1850. Henry Clay rolls into the Senate with a stack of resolutions taller than a keto pancake pile, hoping to keep America from splitting in half. This was the original let's all calm down package. Clay basically said, what if California is free, the other territories flip a coin, Texas loses some land but gets its debts paid, D.C. stops selling people but keeps slavery, and we tighten fugitive slave laws? It was the Olive Garden of compromises, a little something for everyone and heartburn for the entire nation. The Fugitive Slave Act portion was especially bad. It required free states to help capture escaped enslaved people, which went over about as well as telling New Yorkers they are now legally required to rescue pigeons stuck in subway turnstiles. People did not go along. Clay delayed the Civil War by 10 years. Impressive, but he also guaranteed it would be much, much worse. Less impressive. January 29th. The day America tried putting duct tape on a national volcano. Segment 3. Carl Benz patents the automobile and ruins every commute forever. January 29th, 1886. Carl Benz files patent number 37,435, inventing the automobile. Imagine being the first guy to say, what if instead of horses, we strap a tiny explosion machine onto a tricycle and just go. Absolute madman. Also, absolute visionary. Benz built a 3-wheeled vehicle because he didn't like the steering geometry on 4 wheels, which is the most German engineering sentence ever spoken. This thing had less than 1 horsepower. 0 to 60? Yes, but only if you measure in minutes. If a strong breeze hit it from behind, it performed significantly better. But this patent launched everything. Suburbs, highways, gas stations, road rage, kids asking, are we there yet? And every movie chase scene ever filmed. January 29th isn't just the birth of the automobile. It's the birth of every check engine light that has ever ruined your day. Segment 4. Bear River and Hawaii. January 29th's harshest lessons on power. January 29th proves that history isn't all inventions and baseball. Sometimes it's tragedy and imperialism showing up like uninvited guests. Colonel Patrick Connor attacks a Shoshone village in Idaho. Reports estimate between 250 and nearly 500 Shoshone were killed, one of the deadliest massacres in U.S. indigenous history. It was cold, it was brutal, and for decades, the only monument at the site honored the soldiers. Imagine losing your home, your family, and your land, and history says, well, let's hear from the guys who showed up with rifles. Only recently have the descendants reclaimed the narrative, reminding us that acknowledgement is the first step toward justice, even if it arrives 150 years late. Same day, different ocean. Liliuokalani becomes Queen of Hawaii. She inherits a monarchy that has been basically kneecapped by the bayonet constitution, which is exactly as friendly as it sounds. She tries restoring voting rights to Native Hawaiians, which apparently was a fireable offense if you ask the American businessmen who promptly organized her overthrow in 1893. Segment 5, the axis of evil and the end of French nuclear tests. Global PR Day. January 29, 2002. President George W. Bush delivers a State of the Union address and introduces the world to the axis of evil. Iran, Iraq, North Korea, the geopolitical equivalent of a group project where everyone refuses to talk to each other, but still somehow gets the same grade. The phrase was crafted to evoke World War II, because nothing says measured diplomacy like summoning the ghost of the Third Reich to describe three countries that barely even text. It helped justify the Iraq invasion, kneecapped reformists in Iran, and made North Korea say, oh, evil? We'll show you evil, and fire off more missile tests. Meanwhile, also on a January 29th, France announces it will stop nuclear testing. So, in one corner of the world, we're ending nukes. In another, we're naming supervillains. Segment 6, Ravens, baseball legends, Shakespeare, Chaplin. The arts go wild. January 29th is secretly the Coachella lineup of cultural milestones. The Raven. Edgar Allan Poe publishes The Raven, proving once and for all that if you're depressed enough, a bird can absolutely ruin your night. He was paid about $9 for it, which feels very early career artist of him. Baseball Hall of Fame class. Cobb, Ruth, Wagner, Mathewson, Johnson, the first 5 inductees. It's like the Avengers, but with more chewing tobacco and fewer shirts that fit properly. Romeo and Juliet. A likely first performance date. This is the play that convinced 400 years of teenagers that the best solution to a crush is to fake your own death. City Lights. Chaplin refuses to use dialogue in a world going sound crazy. The cinematic equivalent of refusing to join TikTok and still becoming the biggest star in the world. Segment 7. Births, deaths, storms, and Indiana. Being Indiana. We round out the day with a grab bag of historical highlights. Thomas Paine, the guy who wrote Common Sense, the original viral political pamphlet. If he lived today, he'd have a Substack and a podcast called Reasonable Takes. Anton Chekhov, doctor plus writer. The man invented slice of life, zero endings, and the rule that if a gun is on the wall in Act 1, someone absolutely has to do something dramatic by Act 3. William McKinley, the president who turned America into an overseas empire by winning a war in about the time it takes to binge a Netflix series. Oprah Winfrey, born on this day, rose from poverty to media megastardom. She's so culturally powerful that if she recommended a grocery list, kale sales would skyrocket. Death of George III. Yes, he lost America, but he also presided over the Industrial Revolution. He's like the manager who fires the wrong guy, but somehow increases quarterly revenue. Charles Starkweather. Capture. A crime spree ends, inspiring decades of outlaw couple movies. Because nothing says romance like stolen cars and terrible decisions. In conclusion, January 29th is the Swiss Army knife of historical dates. A little art, a little war, a little politics, a little monarchy overthrowing, a little automotive innovation, and one raven who just will not leave. It's a reminder that history isn't a straight line. It's a messy, sprawling group chat with humans popping in to say, I invented the car, or I ended nuclear tests, or I just published a poem about a bird that gaslights me. And yet, somehow, all of it builds the world we're standing in now. Thanks for joining me on this time travel roller coaster. This has been Klepper's Corner, Today in History, where every date has a story, and January 29th has all of them.